Hi, it's Dorothy Guining with Scrapbooking Quebec. Welcome to another video in my series, Stampin' Up! Scrapbooking. Today, I will be sharing a super fun and easy design that looks great every time. It's perfect for scraps, leftover collections, or a card kit. That's what I'm going to be using. I have leftovers from Stampin' Up's July 2025 paper pumpkin kit called Sweeter with You. I did a full unboxing of this kit on my channel, so I will link it up below in case you're curious. Everything I use will be listed below, along with my link to Stampin' Up and Paper Pumpkin. So let's get started. Here is what's on my table. That box is what's delivered to your doorstep if you order Paper Pumpkin. So I'm showing you the instruction sheet that came in that box. It was for 8 cards. I made 4 of them, and I will share those with you at the end of this video. I have 1 photo, and I also have 4 card bases. So 1.5 of each. Basically what I did was I took 4 card bases, cut them in half. I used half of them and put them on top of a basic white card base, created my cards, and that gave me more pattern paper for creating other projects like today's layout. I also showed you that I have 3 pieces of 12 by 12 cardstock there, willow white, strawberry slush and garden green, and I have a bunch of embellishments all left over from Paper Pumpkin. I have nesting circle dies, and I have this grid template from Simple Stories, and I'll talk about all of those throughout the process. The first thing I'm going to do is cut up a bunch of circles. So I showed you that template. I'm using template number 8, which is a 9-block grid with 3-inch blocks. So I found myself a circle die that was closest to 3 inches, and I'm going to be cutting out a bunch of circles in all 4 of these patterns. I'm not going to make you watch all of it. I'm also going to cut out some circles in smaller sizes as well. So in a moment I'll be back, and I'm going to show you that I prepared my frame style foundation page along with all of my circles, and you'll see that in just one moment. Here we go. So you can see I have a bunch of circles. Most of them are these 3-inch circles. So for each pattern, I cut myself out 3 3-inch circles. And you can see just to the side, I have a little handful of smaller circles as well. I do have a bunch of scraps here, and I will be conserving these preciously because I plan to create a complimentary page for the layout I'm creating today. And I will show you that complimentary page in my layout share at the end of August. I did double mat 1 photo. I'm showing you as well. I switched up my photos. Originally, I was going to use that photo of me holding strawberries. In the end, that's going to go on the complimentary page. And for today's layout, I'm using the display photo at the farmer's market of the strawberries. So in addition to the double mat, I did add some extra cardstock behind it just to raise it up a bit off the page. I often do that instead of foam adhesive. It's just a way of adding a little lift to the photo without adding too much thickness. And I like to do that when I add a lot of pattern papers to a page. I'm also showing you that I switched up my green cardstock. The one I originally showed you was 2-tone garden green cardstock. Instead, I ended up going with a very light polka dot tone-on-tone garden green from this 2 Market collection, which is another collection from Stampin' Up. It's a retired one. If it's still available, I will link it up below. I also want to talk about my selection of red. So in my frame style foundation page, I ended up going with Strawberry Slush as opposed to that Poppy Parade. That's the red. Both of them found in this Sweeter with You collection. The reason why I did that was when I paired the Poppy Parade with the garden green, it just felt a little bit too Christmassy for me. So I went with the Strawberry Slush, which is like a pinkish red, and I really like how that looks. And for me, it removed that Christmassy feeling. Now I'm getting out the template there. So what I'm going to do is not use the template right now. I just wanted to show it to you again, I guess. And I'm simply going to play with the pattern of the circle. So I know I want to form a grid with them, and I'm just going to look for something that pleases my eye. So I'm starting out here with the 4 different pattern papers. The funny thing is, when I was cutting out these circles, I didn't think I liked the gingham. and I preferred that pink polka dot. But in the end, you're going to see I end up removing the pink polka dot and going with the gingham. So that's a perfect example how sometimes you just have to play with product in order to know what you like best. As you can see, when I was playing with them, I realized that my photo was going to cover up 2 circles. So I removed 2 circles from behind the photo. That would just be a waste. And now what you see me doing is just contemplating my pattern here. And it's at this point I decide to remove the pink and just go with the gingham. And I'm just kind of changing a bit the order of these circles. So once I'm happy with that, what I am going to do is adhere that. Right now, what I will do is just get out those small circles for a moment, but I quickly realize I'm going to wait until I embellish my page before I start layering up these circles. So I'm going to get out that Simple Stories template, and what you're going to see me do is adhere it right on top of that white cardstock. And I'm going to talk about that for a moment, because when I use these Simple Stories templates, there's many different grid patterns with these Simple Stories templates. Again, this one is number 8. What I often do is cut myself out a base, in this case in white cardstock, the very same size as the template. Then I adhere my grid through the template. I take that base, which is always smaller than 12 by 12, and then adhere it on top of my foundation page, which is 12 by 12. That is what I mostly do. I find it just steps up these templates a little bit more than just adhering the grid directly on top of a 12 by 12 foundation page. I hope all of that talking made sense. Anyway, as you can see, I did adhere those circles through the template, and it makes it really, really easy for placement. And now I'm adhering my photo. Now there is a little space over to the right of the photo, but I'm okay with that because I do know I'm going to have a fairly significant embellishment cluster in that area, so that white part will be covered up. Now what I want to do is show you my embellishments. Now again, most of this comes from the paper pumpkin box. I made 4 cards and I still have tons left over. These were all laser cut. I had to punch them out. They punched out very, very easily. So I have strawberries in different sizes. I have a few pink strawberries, and I also have these little white flowers. In addition to that, I have this larger vine of strawberries. I absolutely love it. I did use one on a card, but I wanted to keep this one for a layout. I have some other pieces as well, along with that flower pot. It's actually going to house my title later on. I have 3 scalloped circles. I want to layer those up on top of the circles that I already have on my page. A few other bits and pieces here. And in this bottom tier, there is a stamp set. So again, all of what I've showed you right now is in the paper pumpkin kit. So that's what I'm going to be using for my title. It says, "Life is sweeter with you." Strawberries do make life sweet after all. And here in that bottom tier as well, I have a bunch of those circles. So I did die cut those out earlier in the video. I'm just going to pop my little scallop circles in there as well, because I'll be using them when I embellish my page with circles. And I'm also showing you that I did my journaling on vellum. I printed it up on the computer and I formed it in a circle. I did die cut those circles with a little die set called Circle of Season dies. It's basically a die set that coordinates with 3 months of Paper Pumpkin. And when you subscribe to Paper Pumpkin, you have access to products that are only available to people who subscribe to Paper Pumpkin, and one of them are these little add-ons, including that die set there. So before continuing, what I want to do is create my title. So I'm getting out that little stamp set that came in the Paper Pumpkin kit, my garden green ink, and a block. Now the Paper Pumpkin does come with a little garden green ink spot, and it comes with a block because these kits are geared towards people who do not have any crafting supplies. I'm going to keep my little Stampin' Spot and give it to someone who doesn't have garden green ink, and I'm just going to use my garden green ink that I have on my table that I use all the time. So I am going to stamp right on top of this flower pot, and I absolutely love how it looks. Now this is small for a title, but I will primp it up a bit. You're going to see I'm going to add some berries behind it, and I also will add some foam adhesive. I'm showing you the little instruction sheet from the paper pumpkin because one of the cards had a basket of strawberries, and I am using that as inspiration to create this little embellishment cluster. So I'm doing exactly what I did on the card. I made one card with it already. So I am just adhering a few strawberries behind the basket, having them pop out, and it's here. I'm just going to add a little bit of foam adhesive. Now I'm using the foam adhesive that came in the paper pumpkin kit for the first time because this is my first paper pumpkin kit, and I'm realizing they are a little bit different than Stampin' Up's regular foam adhesive. They're a tiny bit thicker. I guess great for cards, but I'm going to use my regular foam adhesive, which is a little bit more thin, because this is a scrapbooking page and I like things not two-dimensional on a scrapbooking page. So as you can see, I placed my basket towards the bottom of the page and I'm getting out that vine of strawberries, which I absolutely love. I have it kind of going up along the right side of my photo. Now I'm adding a few of those little white flowers. I added a little strawberry towards the bottom of the basket, and I'm really liking how this is looking. So now I'm getting out the other circles there. I'm playing around with them. So I have those scalloped circles. I put them in 3 spots at first, but then I decided to put them underneath my journaling, and I really like how it makes my journaling pop. I do have a 3rd scalloped circle, but I think I'm going to reserve that for the complimentary page because I am going to be doing that, as I mentioned earlier. So I did layer up some of the other circles with other pattern paper circles, and I like how this is looking. I'm really quite thrilled with how this layout is coming together. This is a design I've used many times. I find it fun, I find it quick, and as I mentioned earlier, it's a great way for using leftovers. It's a great way for using scraps. It's a great way for mixing up pattern papers. It's just fun. It's a great fun summer layout to create. Now what I'm going to do is start adhering. So I'm starting with that cluster towards the bottom of the page, and then I'm going ahead with the circle layers on top of the larger circles. For the circle layers, I am adding foam adhesive because it is putting pattern on top of pattern, which can be kind of busy. So by lifting it a bit, I find it just helps. It also adds some texture to the layout as well. Now I'm adhering those scalloped circles. I notice that there's a little tiny white ball on one of them, so I'm snipping it off with my scissors. I'm kind of fussy in that way. I adhere that. Then I'm going to adhere my vellum on top. Now I do have to decide how I'm going to adhere my vellum. I'm thinking of stapling it, but the vellum, I am going to be adhering it on top of white. Now I don't have special vellum adhesive. I know it exists, but I do notice when I adhere vellum on top of white, I can't see my adhesive. So that's what I did for both of my journaling spots. So there it is, my finished layout. I absolutely love it. I am quite thrilled. And here again is the paper pumpkin box. This is where the material came from. I do have a bunch of leftovers. Now I do plan to create a complimentary page, and I also will probably have some more leftovers. And if that's the case, I may make another card or two. And again, I'll share all that with you in my layout share at the end of August. Here are the 4 cards that I did create. So this one here, I created it exactly how the instructions showed in the paper pumpkin box. The only difference is I had cut my card bases in 2 to stretch my pattern paper, and I adhered the card front on top of a white card base. This one here as well basically followed the instructions. I did one thing a bit different. You may notice the card front is a little bit smaller and there's a white border around the edge. I basically cut out the card front in the textured notes dies, which are embossed rectangle dies, and that's what I used. I did that for the following two cards as well, but for the following two cards that I'm showing you right now, I did not follow the instructions in the instruction kit. I used the material that was in the paper pumpkin box, but I just kind of went my own way. So you can kind of do whatever you want with these kits. For that one there, I did add ribbon from my stash. Here's the last one. Again, you can see I made myself a card front using those textured notes dies, but for that one, the green base, I also ran it through my die cutting machine with an embossing folder. So if you look at it closely, there's an embossed texture on it. So basically, that's it, my finished layout and 4 cards that I've made so far with July 2025's paper pumpkin. As I mentioned earlier, everything I used is listed in the description box below, along with my link to Stampin' Up. If you live in Canada and use the link, I will get a commission. If you have a local demonstrator, please support him or her. But if you don't and something catches your eye, thank you very, very much. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, I'd greatly appreciate a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, Scrapbooking Quebec, I would be thrilled if you did. And if you are a subscriber, thank you very, very much. Have a great day, and I will see you soon on YouTube. Bye-bye.